first? Ladies. Who's first? Ladies. Who's first? Ladies. What time is it? It's time for the ladies. It's the Ladies First Chit-Chat crew. Time for the ladies. It's the Ladies First Chit-Chat crew. L-A-D-E-I-E-S, and we're up first. L-A-D-E-I-E-S, L-A-D-E-I-E-S, and we're up first. Speak what you want, unbossed. Speak what you want, unbossed. Speak what you want, unbossed. And we're up first. Unapologetically great. Unapologetically great. Unapologetically great. And we're up first. Yes, ladies. That's dope. Yes, ladies. That's dope. Yes, ladies. That's dope. And we're up first. It's time for the ladies. It's the Ladies First Chit-Chat crew. Time for the ladies. It's the Ladies First Chit-Chat crew. One time for the ladies in the house. Two time make the people scream and shout. Lachelle, Chandra, Crystal with Nikki, on boss, and Nikki. L-A-D-E-I-E-S, L-A-D-E-I-E-S, and we're up first. L-A-D-E-I-E-S, L-A-D-E-I-E-S, and we're up first.
I like looking at that video. It makes me smile.
I love it.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Ladies First Chit-Chat crew, where we honor the voice of the everyday woman. What's up, pretty ladies in pink?
Morning.
Y'all look cute. Y'all look pretty.
They look pink.
Why we wearing pink this morning? Why we wearing pink?
Pink is the
Somebody
color.
know. Huh? What'd you say?
I said pink is the color that represents shifting.
That's right. Pink is the color that represents shifting. We think.
We think in pink.
We thinking pink. We thinking pink. Good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday. Can y'all hear me? Am I echoing?
You are echoing.
You echoed, yeah.
Am I echoing now?
No.
Okay. I think it's feedback from all of us, I think. Anyway, how y'all doing this morning again? Welcome to the Ladies First Chit-Chat crew, where we honor the everyday woman. I am having a little bit of a frazzle morning. I've been going, I have a mouse, as my ladies know. I have a mouse in my house, which is so perfect with what we're talking about today.
You live in New York, so there you go.
And me and the mouse came face to face yesterday.
No.
Face to face. It was like, I don't know if it's a he or she. I think it's a she. It's like she came out and she was like, ooh. It was like, she like, ooh. It was in the middle of the kitchen. And I was like, and we like looked at each other and we both went. And I've not been able to find her, and I can hear her. And last night I don't like to sleep with my television on. I slept with my TV on because I wanted her to know I was here. And this morning I got up and I was working hard, and I got up early. I had to go my computer is acting funny. I had to go get something with that. Then I went to Home Depot. Y'all ever go to Home Depot?
Yes.
It's a very serene, tranquil place. I started walking around. I was
I
like,
don't know about all that.
I felt like I did. Like my hype spot is my hype spot is walking around Bloomingdale's. That's how I get excited and stuff. I loved walking around Home Depot this morning. I was looking at the flowers. I was like, we shifting over to here and we shifting over to there. And then I shifted over to the mouse traps and the decon and everything else. So, and I got those little I got these little pluggy thingies. I got like, why?
That's all you need. They're not gonna like the noise.
I didn't mention this to you, but that's you can really solve all of this by getting a cat.
That's what
I'm not a cat person, but you would have no more issues.
But I've never really had issues since I've been in here. But anyway, we had the mouse problem, and the reason I started off because yesterday when I saw the mouse, I remember during our meeting on Thursday, Shelly mentioned that mouse is a sign that it's time for you to shift up on out of here, And when I saw her yesterday, I was like, and I ran, I was like, that's it. We got to shift. Last Saturday, we talked about the changes that are happening externally will force you to make changes internally. And we talked about that. Why? Because shift happens. And this week, we'll be talking about Shawnee. What's the title? The title say? I just want to hear you say what the title is today. I don't know what the title is. Every time I read it, I feel like I hear your voice saying it.
Honey, if you don't shift, you will get dragged.
You will get dragged. So this week is all about us talking about if you continue to ignore the signs that are telling you that it's time to shift or time to make changes, you will be pushed or dragged out of the cocoon, right, y'all? You would be pushed
all the way
out of the cocoon. What's up, everybody? I see y'all saying hi. What I want to say is start off, what are the signs that tell us we are being pushed? Are we paying attention and shifting, or are we ignoring and continuing to resist? That's what we're talking about today. I'm going to kick it off, ladies. When has it been a time in your life, or maybe it's now, that you recognize areas in your life that you've been resistant and you know that it's time to change? I want to hear from you. I want to hear from our viewers. I want to hear from us. When has it been a time in your life or areas in your life that you know it's happening and you've been resistant and you know you need to change, but you refuse to change? Talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
Well, I can say, go on, Shawnee. I saw you.
Yeah.
Go on, girl.
No, I'll go real quick and say, like, I don't necessarily, I was trying to really think about, like, has there ever been a situation where I've been like really pushing back and then it like bulldozed over me and dragged me? And I don't, in a sense, I don't really have an example of that, because I do believe that I flow with what's happening in my life, and that's always been like the way I move. However, when I moved, and you guys know this story, but when I came to New York, I feel like that was the essential getting dragged situation, because I had, said I was going to come. I had been making provisions to get to New York. But I kept like, saying, "Oh, I'll go next time," or I'll do it next time, or I'll it'll be another chance to go, or what, just making any and every excuse. And then most of you guys know the story of me coming to New York for an audition and then getting stuck here and then ended up just staying. But I just felt like that's my like big situation of like, oh, you don't want to do this, but this is your trajectory, so you have to do this. So I'm gonna go ahead and drag you over here, make the biggest storm in in history, and at that time, I mean, we've had so many storms since then, but at that time it was like New York hadn't had a big storm like that in like 10, 15 years. And I got stuck here. So I think that's my example of like the universe saying, oh, let me pick you up by your ears and drag you and drag you here.
I think that snowstorm was the drag part, right?
That's what I was about to say. Because you thought you was leaving. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that was the drag. It was like, yeah, no, you
bags packed, gone. And they were like, that's an absolute no. The next flight doesn't leave for 7 days. What?
Right. That was
7 days. I knew 2 people in New York. One was out of town doing a show.
But isn't it interesting, because in those 7 days, I bet you started to let yourself wrap your mind around what your soul was telling you about coming to New York.
Absolutely. It didn't even take the 7 days. Once I had to ask my friend to stay until I figured out, plane situation. That night we had a conversation, and I was like, maybe this is God telling me to stay here. And he was like, okay. And, because I say some wild things, and he was just like, this is another one of your wild things. And I was like, no, I think this is God telling me to stay. And he was like, well, I was like, could you help? Could I find I had never, being in California, getting a sublet and staying in someone's house thing isn't a thing like that. I mean, it is more so now, but back then it wasn't a thing. So I had no idea of like that type of like, people do that. People rent out their rooms and like, while they're gone for a period of time, like who knew that? Right. And so he was like, oh yeah, my roommate is leaving on Friday for 9 months. You can stay in his room.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, check. Okay. Well, I need to call my mama and see if she can clean out my apartment and, see what they can do. And they were like, yeah, girl, what you need us to do? Literally just stayed. And it was one day I realized what was happening. I didn't want it. I guess I have this inner, like, I don't want to be dragged situation that once it pinches me, I kind of just be like, okay. You ain't got to drag me. I've been dragged down the street in real life by our vehicle, so I don't want that experience. You know what I'm saying?
You said something really key, Shani. You said you've been pinched before, and for me, I love that you listen to the pinch. Because I feel like sometimes a lot of reasons we get dragged, I can speak for myself. Sometimes I feel the pinch, I feel the push, I feel the foot push me. And then sometimes I don't react until the damn kitchen sink falls apart. And then I'm still like, and then sometimes it takes for me to get dragged down the street for me to go, okay, God, I'm listening.
Until the mouse is like this in your face.
Until the mouse is like this in my face yesterday. Okay? For me to say, time to shift.
Girl, I live here too, so what you doing?
I love that you said you felt the pinch. And I feel like I know personally, I said this to y'all on Thursday, I am getting to the point that I don't have to have the kitchen sink fall apart in order for me to know it's time to shift.
That's fantastic.
And I my girls called me out about me still being in my space. Last week I shared about me shifting and externally, and I'm single now and moving forward, and it's a great thing. But I still got the red girl behind me, like Brittany said. She said she's tired of looking at this red girl behind me. It's time for me to go. And the girl said to me, that mouse is telling you it's time to shift. That is the pinch. That is the push. And I truly believe this morning when I was in Home Depot, I don't want the rats to come in here to be my kitchen sink.
You don't want her to bring her friends.
Yeah, I don't want her to bring her friends to force me to shift. So
you don't want her to go get her mama.
I don't want her to go get her mama. So
Or-
in the area of piggybacking on identifying the area that I'm resistant to change, as much as I don't want to admit it, I'm resisting the change of moving out of here.
Yeah.
And I asked
Yeah, I'm
myself,
familiar.
yeah, I ask myself now, why? You know, I give the excuses, money and this, but Shelly just told me it's about abundance and prosperity. And I'm sitting here right now resisting change, yet wanting to shift at the same time. You know what I mean?
Well,
Sometimes you can't. I'm sorry.
no, you go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say sometimes you can't play it all out. And I know for me that's kind of hard. Like if I can't play it out to see to some extent where it's going or how it's going to work out or points at which I could probably manage to control the outcome ahead of time, it calls for pause.
It's not even pause. It's an arrest.
Mm.
It's an arrest. And
That's
I
the
think
word.
that we humanity, right, have all been there in some way, shape, or form. As you were talking, Shani, I was thinking about, do we have to start using our government names so people know? Chandra, when you were talking.
That's right. That's right.
I'll use your whole I'm using everybody's government today. But I was thinking about how we moved from New York to Pennsylvania. We lived in the Poconos for a number of years, and then we live in New Jersey. And each of those times, it was trying to. You said something too again, Chandra, that I'm holding on to. It was like these excuses to stay, these excuses to like. Why do I have like a laundry list of all these things that? Okay, we lived in New York all of our lives. We were both from New York, and then it came down to theater. Interestingly, we were like, okay, everything else we can do from anywhere else except for the theater, right? We go and then my husband and I were like, okay, when's the last time we went to the theater? 5 years ago. Like we don't go like 7 times a year, so you would be like, this is the reason to stay in the city. And the reality was what we felt at the time, and this is not an abundant statement, it's just how we felt at the time. We don't have $1 million to live in the neighborhood anymore. You have to be wealthy to live. And our circumstances, to your point, Nikki on Boss, our circumstances that we were able to see at the time didn't align with being able to have a mortgage with the salaries that we had at the time. None of that. And then it was like, okay, so how do we want to live? That shift was then, wow, we can build a house in the Poconos with an acre of land, with the space to grow into this life that we really envision ourselves. What's the caveat? You have to travel. So he was like, I'll work out there. If you do the travel was comfortable, was long, but then the next thing you know, we built this life out there. Here's the shift though. Another shift happened. 11 years later, we realized that all of our lives were like kind of in New York, New Jersey, and none of it was like our work wasn't out there, right? So now we're spending 20 hours a week back and forth. And we were like, okay, I'm scared because I'm like Nikki and the mouse. Like I'm just like, oh, I want to stay here. I don't want to leave the comfort zone, all that kind of stuff. And then we were like, wait a minute. If I'm putting on my makeup on the bus, I'm sleeping on the bus. I'm on the bus. I live on the bus. I live on Route 80. I'm not living. I'm sleeping in this house. So then the shift was, how do you want to live? And that's how we got to New Jersey. And so we had to walk away from some things that seemingly were it served us well at the time. But the thing for me is that the shift, everybody, party people, was going from like head thinking to flow thinking. So that's gonna be my next shirt. Flow
Head thinking to flow thinking.
It was because once you get in flow, right? Shani, you weren't in flow, but the snowstorm made you go like, oh, right? You weren't doing that before. I'm thinking what I was going to share today wasn't even about my move. It came to me, but my swimming example keeps coming up. It's like every time I have pictures of a young lady, she's on her back floating. I was taking swimming classes, and I'm petrified every class. This swimming teacher that I had, he's like, we're gonna swim on our backs today. I was like, we not doing that. Because I don't swim on my back. I can't even swim on the front. Like, what are you talking about? So I'm talking shift, and it's not happening. So he's like, trust me. He's like, just lean back. I got you. I was like, everything I love, I will snatch you up if you move your hands. I don't care if I'm floating. You don't move your hands. That's the rule. He goes, I got you, ma'am. He was young. He's the young one. He's like, I got you, ma'am. I was like, I go from feeling like this to I just relaxed myself, right? And now I'm floating on my back, like this girl in my picture. And he says, you're floating. And I was like, I know. He goes, can I leave? I was like, you cannot. But he's like, you know, you're floating. I was floating when I really just was, I released everything. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking about that this morning because of some things that I'm experiencing right now in my own life. I was like, what are you feeling? Every time that thing clenches up, like your muscles, like it's your energy. Oh, so I'm flowing. No, you're not. Your face is tight. Your voice is tight. Your energy is not flowing. Your energy is tight. Yes. And so then you flip into that flow. And for me, I don't mean to take up this much time. Like I got nothing on I got no watch. The flow then feels like, then I go into gratitude, right? And now I got all these things to feel grateful for. And now I'm not as tight. So I'm working on this is what I don't have all the answers. All I got is examples. And every time now that I'm intentional about flow, I'm like, this is not flowing, ma'am. This is being in your head. This is not flowing. This is, and so that's the work that I'm doing right now.
I love that though. I love when you said, this is not flowing, ma'am. And the work that you have chosen to do on yourself. I think that's so important. I want to hear what Shelly thinks about that. I know Shelly's really big on putting into us about the work that we get to do with ourselves. This is not flowing, ma'am. I need to say that to myself. This is not flowing, ma'am.
Yeah. It's interesting. There's so much I was thinking. When Shawnee said the pinch, right? I realized for me, because I live in a state of flow. A pinch for me is like a punch in the face.
Yeah.
Right? Like a pinch is like a truck ran me over. And I was myself trying to think about, and I'm always in a state of this is not working, man. I feel when things aren't working very easily, because like the work that Crystal just described that she's in, where she is trying to really intentionally feel her way through her day and recognize when the tensing is coming, right? And when there is no tensing and she's in that state of flow and gratitude, I realized that once you start to make that kind of conscious effort, you become not only quickly aware of what's not in flow, but you almost instinctually make the shifts that put you in flow. Because now you're not trying to get to flow, you're trying to maintain flow, right? Trying to get to flow is really, I think, what most people are doing, right? And they're afraid. But once you have a little bit of flow, right? Crystal floating on her back, even though these guys' hands were there, allowed her to relax more and more, right? Shawnee took a little bit of flow by taking that short trip to audition, and then the universe locked her there so that she had time to get comfortable with flow, right? And I think that's what we're working on. I realized for my example, I had a hard time finding an example, but my biggest example is actually when I ended my marriage, right? I married a man y'all all know I love my husband, right? I married a man to this day that I still love immensely, and we're friends and all of that stuff. We always were from day one. And when we got to the part of our relationship that involved our kids and how we had to, how things for me needed to show up for us to do it, he was amazing. It just wasn't flow for me. it started to shift and kink and lock and block. And I was like, I can't take this, right? And so I made a decision to find a way to continue to be in flow. And the one thing I had to release was my marriage, not my relationship with him, not our connection for our children, but our marriage. I could not flow in it in that state, right? And in retrospect, I realized if we could have taken out the raising children part, we would have continued to be in flow, but we were not in flow in that part. We were both doing it, but so differently that it was not feeling good for me. And so, as you said in the beginning, Nikki, like, what makes you know? What made me know is that what I loved was causing me pain.
When you can I tell you something? When you said that last week, that you know when it's time to shift, when the things that you are involved in, the areas you're in, whatever it is causing you pain. You know, that has sat with me all week.
Mm-hmm.
That has sat with me all week. The areas that you are in are causing you pain.
Mm-hmm. And for me, I want to be clear about pain for people. Mm-hmm. It could be pain, right? Like some of us, we hold so much stuff and our body literally starts to hurt, right? We have anxiety, we do all these things. But it could be little pains, like the shock you felt when you and Miss Mouse was looking at each other today. Like that's not a comfortable feeling, right? And I want to be in a state of comfortability. And so that's a little pain, like nothing hit you or hurt you and Miss Mouse didn't burn all your clothes. You know what I'm saying? Like you weren't devastated, but that's a pain too.
Yeah, being unfulfilled, feeling unfulfilled.
Uncomfortable, dissatisfied, frustrated, annoyed, hurt, right? Those are all pains. And when what you've been enjoying and experiencing starts to feel like pain, it's a definite sign that a shift is needed.
I have a question. Lachelle. I'm trying to not call you Shelly. You saw me, Lachelle. I have a question. I agree. That is really powerful. How do you differentiate this to everybody when it's pain or it's a challenge? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Wait, before you answer, I was about to ask that question. I was going to say pain or discomfort.
Or just when it's a
pain and challenge. Good.
Challenge, because some things are, oh, this is a challenge, and we learning, and it's lessons, and we pushing through. And when it's pain,
pain. I will tell you this has been again, through the work that I've done with thousands of people, what I've recognized is that challenges are uncomfortable, but your soul and your energy still have the motivation to see it forward. Pain is debilitating. It is uncomfortable, but it sits you down and your mind locks up, right? You can't think your way out of pain. Challenges, you can be like, this is uncomfortable and this is pushing me, but there's something in me that's like, but I want to see what happens if I go 5 more miles here, right? Like you actually want to see what happens. You're not going forward because you're like, but I told everybody that I was going to do this. But you see, pain, there's discomfort in both challenges and pain, but pain makes it very hard for you to muster the energy to move forward.
Yeah, pain is crippling.
Exactly. Challenges, you still are like, ooh, this don't feel good, but you're still motivated to move forward with it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, use working out as an analogy. You know what I'm saying? Like when you're working out, it is very uncomfortable. That is discomfort. In working out. But when you hurt, when you are injured and you're working out, sometimes you can't even muster up the pain, the will or whatever to even do said exercise because it is too painful to do.
Exactly. That's such a good analogy.
It's a great, like, it's so funny. One of my clients said to me the other day that one of the reasons she chose me as a trainer, she liked about me as a trainer, is because I said to her, I'm going to challenge you. And, you know, and there's going to be discomfort there. But when you are in pain, you need to let me know. And that's when we stop, or we need to figure out where the pain is, or when we do something else. So that's when we need to shift and do something.
Girl, you just got that's the title of a book or a song or something. Because she had you to tell her, when you're in pain, you let me know.
No. Mm-hmm. And that's what we have to say to ourselves.
Exactly.
I want to, we got a new viewer on.
We know when we're in pain.
Yeah.
Even though we ask that question, we know when we're in pain.
We do know when we're in pain. We do. I want to, we got a new viewer watching us today. He's going to end up being a guest on our show. I want to say hi to him. What's up, Chris? Chris said, growth is discomfort. Pain is a result of doing something wrong. Yeah.
When we say wrong, we mean wrong for you.
Wrong for you. I want to Enid put out, hey, Mama E, to my inertia is the biggest issue, and not shifting even though you know you must. For me, it was the sudden death of a friend, which was the catalyst for me to make a major life change. That's a very hard way to learn a lesson, but you take what the universe gives you.
Yes, and the universe is going to give you what it wants you to have, whether you take it gracefully or it slams you in the face like a pie.
Mm-hmm. Or with a snowstorm.
Or a snowstorm.
Snowstorm. Or with my new, no, she's not my friend. You see me go.
I was just about to say, look, you said the words right on. I was like, do not call that thing your friend, because you'd be like, well, me and my friend, we just
Nikki, what about you? What do you feel like, Nikki on Boss? Like, what do you feel like when you know that there's this shift that needs to happen?
Well, I'm restless. I'm uncomfortable. I'm very clear that something, and even most recently, like even just with my 9 to 5, I mean, Shelly knows because I called her too. Like everything y'all hit on is exactly what has happened to me in most recent days, past weeks, actually months. I've been wanting to make a change for a number of reasons. Not feeling appreciated enough, you know, working extremely hard, and you know, it just wasn't enough. Like I wasn't getting enough from it, and I was unhappy, and I've been unhappy. And there was an opportunity most recently that came up that was kind of different, but it was protected. Like, so there's an opportunity within my 9 to 5 that basically says you can go do something different for 6 months. And if you don't like it, you can come back. If you do, and we have a full head count, you could, you know, we could extend you to role. And like, I don't know, it just scares the best out of me. And it's not like you're not going to have a job. The biggest opportunity is you get to learn and enhance new skills or demonstrate new skills to a new set or group of people and show a different side of yourself where I know I excel. Right. And so in that regard, it would be a good thing, but it was just scary, you know, and literally I have been dragging my feet for 2 weeks. I called Shelly. I talked to a number of different people, and I knew, especially talking to Lachelle, I got really laser focused as to why. And the why, one of the reasons, the why for me was I'm used to getting a certain response when I want to do something different, whether it's people are very excited for me or they think it's really perfect or whatever. But at that time, the people I was speaking to, they didn't really know me. And so I didn't get that response. So that level of, yeah, this is a good move made me continue to pause. Ironically enough, I finally went after it. And the response I got from the person that I was feeling uncomfortable about was like, awesome, I'm going to do some weekend reading and I'll get back to you on Monday. And I was like, oh, didn't expect that. Okay. But to answer you specifically, I have been very unhappy. And when I talked to my direct leadership, he was so supportive. He was like, whenever you want to come back, you know, you're good. But he was like, I know you want more. You can do more. And very supportive of it, you know? So literally I'm still feeling some kind of way. So I feel like I'm being pushed, but I know it's a good direction for me. And if I just let go and just let it flow, like you said, Crystal, the next part of it, if I continue to flow while I'm doing it as it's happening, I can see a host of possibilities for me. And this is outside of like the 9 to 5. But that's a most recent example that I'm literally going through right now. And it's because it's unfamiliar. It's because I know where I am. I'm loved. I can do what I do with my eyes closed. Right. But it's not enough because of that reason. So that's a very recent example.
I love what you said though, Nick. When you went back to the flow reference, and I know when you said I can do what I do with my eyes closed, but it's not enough. My question is, because that resonated with me, is it not enough because, how do I say this? Not is it not enough? We know you want more, but is it not enough? It started getting back to me too with the zone of genius thing.
Well, yeah, because
not enough because I say this, I could be running this, or is it not enough?
Exactly what happened.
Something
That's
else.
exactly what happened. And okay, so 2 weeks ago, the week before this one, I found myself in a place, and I find myself in that place often where I'm like, oh, all right, this is my suggestion. And no one challenges it. And they say, let's implement it. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. I'm doing my job, your job. And someone said to me, Nikki, why are you doing this? I was like, you're right, because that's so-and-so's, but I said, but they weren't doing it. And it's the right thing to do. Like, this is what we need to do. He was like, I'm not arguing that. And that was like the icing on the cake. I mean, for months I've been restless, but that was like the icing on the cake when I realized it's not that I wanted control. It's that I needed to be in a different place where the recommendations, the suggestions I'm offering, or, the vision I have, I can help deliver that directly, because I'm giving it to other people that are either getting credit for or, not implementing it the way it should be, and it's halfway done. And I'm not okay with that, So it became more than just feeling personally unfulfilled and restless. It came more to being in a place where I can deliver the things that I see that need to be done. I don't know if I'm explaining that correctly.
I think it's perfect. I felt that way when I knew it was time for me to shift to be my own boss. When it was time for me to shift to be an entrepreneur. When I got laid off at Bally Total Fitness and everyone was going to do that whole Equinox thing, I was a spokesperson. I worked for, a lot of people don't know, I was a trainer, but I was a spokesperson for Bally's, and I worked for their PR department. I was a PR director, and everyone was ready to go jump on that 24 hours Equinox thing. And I started feeling like, but I had a vision that was different, and I was about to go. And then I stepped in faith, and I was like, I want my own vision, and I want to execute my own vision, and I want to step into my own vision. And I was in a space that I didn't have to worry about anybody but myself. So if my lights went off, it was just me in the mouse. No, I'm joking. It was just me and the lights, but to me, when I got there and I started getting like that, that's when I knew. Even now, sometimes when things happen, I go, it's time for me to go be my own boss. It's time for me I see the vision. Let me take that vision. Let me shift and go execute that vision instead of executing for everybody else,
Yeah. And there was one more piece to this. I needed to do it differently than I had in the past. Like, people often, the suggestions they give you, they want to, the only thing they can think of is to direct you in places maybe you've been before, things you've done before. For me, there was more to it. So yes, I want to do something different, but I need to do it in a different way. I don't want to do it the same way I've done it before. And to be quite honest, I was very clear. I was very successful. And I don't have anything else to prove for myself in that area. I know that I can help other people be successful, and I'm even proving it in what I'm doing now. So now I need to do it in another way.
Or in another room.
In another room. That's basically what it is.
And I think you have a lot of things telling you that.
Yeah, and you hit it right there in another room, another space, because now I can touch again and still be number one. And it's not about being number one, even though I use that to describe it. It's about being successful and knowing that my direct influence, execution can be recognized and seen on what I'm touching. But I can't do it the same way I've done before, because that's not going to be fulfilling for me.
Yes.
I'm very clear on that. And so just to wrap this up, this opportunity, praying all goes well from the response of God, it would allow me to do that and start to change how I'm seen, marketed, viewed, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so I can do what I do, just do it differently with a different face in a different way.
That's
I love that. Denise just said, thanks, Nikki. I'm a Black woman entrepreneur who works for a financial institution. Do you feel drained sometimes when recruiting people to join you?
Ciao.
Yes, we all can answer that. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. But listen, Denise and everybody, when people ask of your energy, for you to participate in something, lead something, join something, help something, support something, create something, collaborate on something, when people ask of your energy, you feel immediately if you want to give it or not. If you feel that you want to, you flow with a yes. If you have any hesitation that you don't, you go straight into your head and you either start thinking of, what am I going to say to this person to let them know that I don't want to be in there? When, sidebar, the answer is just no. Or you start thinking, what can I adjust in myself so I can say yes to them?
But here's the deal. She asked, she said, do you feel drained sometimes when recruiting people to join you? You don't need to feel drained. You need to move on. You don't need that person not interested. Move on, because it's more work to reel somebody in that from the minute you ask them, are you interested? Are you in? And they hesitating, just walk away, because there's somebody else that is interested and ready to jump in.
Listen, I mean, this is a different take on that same notion, but I was just having this conversation with my girlfriend who came. She literally flew in to North Carolina just to help me unpack for one day. She just was like, I love you and I want to come help however I can. So she flew in, she was here for like 5 hours and she helped me unpack and then she went on by her business. But when we were talking, I was just like, you know what? It's so interesting how like we put so much energy into people who don't want us. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, if you get one or two that are willing to do stuff like that, that doesn't have to be to that extreme, but you know what I'm saying? Just are willing to have your back, willing to do for you, willing to be, in friendship with you. Like, why waste our time and energy on people who we are trying to convince that we are good for them?
So true.
I don't know if I'm gonna screw that up, but I just want to emphasize that, because we spend too much energy on people who don't want us.
Yeah. And this was like the reassurance that I needed, because obviously coming here into like a new space, like you feel like I have like so many people that I'm leaving behind, and you have that type of like guilt or whatnot, because you're starting a different chapter of your life, and like people may fall off, but that action was like a reassuring thing for me, of like the people who are supposed to be and will continue, they're going to do it on their own. It ain't your job. It ain't your job to try and make sure that they still latched. If they want to latch to you, they will.
And by the way, like real friends and real people in your life, it don't matter. They're there no matter what, whether they're there every day, whether they, do what this friend just did. You could not speak to somebody, and I've had that, 10 years, and they show up when you call.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the real people in your life.
Well, those people in connection with shifting, right? People who genuinely feel connected to you or rooted to you for who you are, not for what you do or what you can do for them.
Yes.
They love to see your shifts, even if they don't understand it, because it feeds them.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like you could be shifting to another side of the country, which is far. Your best friend you go to brunch with every Sunday doesn't actually want to see you move too far to go to brunch every Sunday. But because they're rooted to who you are and not what you can do for them or what you do in the world, that shift is something that feeds them and helps them grow and expand, and they're excited to see it. So those people remain through every shift.
Mm-hmm. And I was going to say, I feel when I get news about new things happening to people or shifts that they're making, I'm like, I'm crying with you. I'm like, oh my God, that's so exciting. I am. It's nothing is in me to like, well, how'd that happen? Well, how'd she get that? Well, how did that's just it's just
flow. When you get to see flow, it helps you check your own flow. Like that's what the excitement is.
It's, I mean, but it's not even a check. I'm like, that's dope. You got this new thing. You're moving. I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna miss you. What's the house look like? Now I feel bad because I was like, Shani, I guess I gotta come down here to help you up.
I was thinking we're all terrible.
I didn't even think about that. Who is this friend?
Like, I was even thinking about, when you say that, like even like the things that are shifting in Shani's life with her new ventures and everything. When you shared with us, I had tears in my eyes. Me and Crystal even talked about it. I was like, oh my God. But I had tears in my eyes because it gave me energy, because I really see how all the things that you have done and are doing have culminated to this new shift.
But that's happening for everybody.
And we're own stuff. Mm-hmm. And I got so choked up. It was almost like I wanted to say thank you. It's like, thank you for allowing your gifts for being in a position and allowing your gifts to hear something, to flow and shift into that. Because what you did for me was made me go, boop, boop, boop. And it's like, it just flowed and shift for me.
I'm saying you can't watch somebody do that and feel those feelings you and Chris without it impacting you and your
100%. 100%.
But it's also like this, saying that as you shift, you got to have the right people in your circle. Right.
Well, that is the shift. That is part of the shift. When people are supposed to be attached to you and stay attached to you, when you are shifting, and then they start to shift as well. When you shift and your environment and your friends don't elevate and shift with you, it's time for them to shift on off, honey.
I want to be clear, because I know we're coming to a wrap. What you said, Nikki, as you shift, you have to have the right people. It's not actually that. As you shift, the right people come. You don't have to have the right people to shift.
I love that.
I endorse that. I endorse that. Yeah.
I love that because it reminds me of, it's be, do, have. You got to be in order to do, in order to have, not to do in order to think. So you're right. When the right people, I love that. Say it again.
When you shift, the right people magnetize to you in your environment. You don't need the right people in order to shift. You'll never have the right people until you shift.
Well, I got a whole bunch of good people.
Don't even finish that sentence.
I must be.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not to dismiss like having the right people around you that encourage you to shift, right? Doesn't matter, but they're not necessary to be there to help you shift or to even support you in shifting.
Exactly.
Sometimes they might not even come around until after you shift. And personally, in the personal situation, I just, one example that I shared with you just in general for shifting for me right now, the people within my current space, I felt like were asking for more and more of the same that I had already done that they hadn't paid attention to, but now all of a sudden it's important. So like they keep raising the bar on things you already did. Now, if you shift on your own, which is basically what I'm trying to do, hopefully I'll end up in a space where, it's a whole new group of people.
You will.
To emphasize on your example or your statement, Lachelle, of having people around you that will support your shift.
100%.
And I think it really goes back to our title. If you don't shift, you will get dragged.
You will get dragged.
If
shift happens, honey.
Yeah, because shift happens, and if you ignoring and resisting the signs, the pinch. If you keep ignoring the pinch, what's going to happen? You're going to get pushed. And if you ignore the push, the kitchen sink going to happen, or the mouse going to come talk to you. You are going to get dragged. Yeah. And it's important for us as a whole to embrace the push. Embrace the pinch.
You just notice it and notice that, hey, this is feeling kind of different. Am I supposed to do something? Like, just pay attention to you, because my drag was more about being uncomfortable. I hate to stay on the work environment, but I got a girlfriend at work and she ran me through, she's been at the company the same amount of time I have. And I'm like, girl, I was thinking, you've been dragged. Every year that she's been at the company, she has ended up, and she's great, in a bad situation.
Drag.
And she's hurt right now. And she's like, but I guess it's time for me to just go. This isn't the place for me. Right. And she's right.
Drag, pain, shift.
Drag the third year. She was dragged with pain.
You can just start with noticing the change, the pinch, and then you can shift and you can leave the drag and the pain out. You won't have to go through the drag and the pain.
You don't have to go through the drag and the pain, and you get to grow through the discomfort.
Yes.
And you get to grow. You get to grow through the discomfort. This is, once again, it's been a great week. To our viewers, stay with us. We're in a little series about shifting. We talked about shift happens last week, and this week we talked about if you don't shift, you will get dragged. We're completing our series next week, staying in the vein of shift. And so come back next week and see what the third part of the series is and where we are going when we talk about shifting individually and shifting together as a sisterhood and a community. I want to shout Carrie out. Carrie, it said, why isn't my name coming up? If you're on the Wonder Woman Need Love 2 site, because it's private, Carrie, sometimes the names don't come up. Right. So I want to tell everyone we do have a new Facebook page. We have a new Facebook page. And I put on the old Facebook page, come see us on the new Facebook page. Okay, come see us on the new Facebook page. I'm also going to add it to, I know Shani added it last week. I'm going to add it to, so you can grab it. But go join our new Facebook page. That's where you can find us. You can watch the show there. Of course, you can watch it on Wonder Woman Need Love too. Of course, watch us on YouTube. And let's just continue to shift, continue to, this morning I was walking, just really out, speaking what I wanted, speaking what I want, speaking what I need, speaking what I deserved to support me in the shift. And I'm encouraging that to all of us as well. And to stop, I know, I don't want to say stop. How do I say it? We're supposed to be watching how we say things, right, Crystal? Let's keep marching forward, keep shifting, keep marching forward, and keep shifting.
Amen.
We love y'all. Again, follow our new Facebook page. And
not just on that page, so your name will come up if you want it.
Yes, Carrie. Yes, Carrie. Y'all know Carrie love the Lay's First Chit-Chat crew. And we love y'all. We love y'all. Does anyone have anything they want to say before we wrap up real quick? A little nugget?
I just want to add, we just need to stay in a place of gratitude too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just always stay in a place of gratitude.
Yeah.
Look. I love that. We're gonna give Carrie the last word. I will make sure to find in the right place. Thank you, ladies. Now to research some college classes to move me in the right direction of my career, so I can flow. That's right.
Yeah.
That's my girl.
That's a beautiful way for us to end.
A beautiful way for us to end, y'all. We love y'all. We will see you next week. Have a great Saturday.
Who's first? Ladies. Who's first? Ladies. Who's first? Ladies. What time is it? It's time for the ladies. It's the Ladies First Chit-Chat crew. It's time for the ladies. It's the Ladies First Chit-Chat crew. And we're up first. And we're up first. Speak what you want, unboss. Speak what you want, unboss. Speak what you want, unbossed. And we're up first.
Unapologetically great. Unapologetically great. Unapologetically great.
And we're up first. Yes, ladies.
That's dope.
Yes, ladies.
That's dope.
Yes, ladies.
That's dope.
And we're up first. It's time for the ladies. It's the Ladies First Chit-Chat crew. Time for the ladies. It's the Ladies First Chit-Chat crew.
One time for the ladies in the house. Two time make the people scream and shout. Lachelle, Chandra, Crystal with Nikki, Unboss, and Nikki.
And we're up first. And we're up first.
Bye, y'all. See y'all later. Have a great Saturday.